Earnestly podcast coming to you on March 29th, 2022. Wow, this year is going rather quick. I'm your host, Ernest E.J. Christian. Of course, this podcast, you subscribe on all podcast catchers on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on Stitcher Radio, Google Podcast, Amazon Music. I'm missing something, I'm sure, but whatever podcast catcher you may or may not have, you're probably going to find this show. The same. So it's been, been a week since I did the solo pod. Thank you guys for subscribing and, downloading and checking in. Yeah, it's been a very, for me, a strange 2 weeks, but a very fun 2 weeks. Because you remember last podcast I did, I said that I went on vacation with my family for about 4 days, with my entire family, and we had a great time. So I've had a really extremely active last couple weekends, and then this past weekend, this past Saturday, we celebrated my sister's 31st birthday. Happy birthday, Aisha, by the way. We had a fantastic time. Went to work all day long. Came home and went to the party at my mom's house, and we had a great time. It was like a block party almost in a sense, because the way we party in our family is it's we're a Caribbean family from Trinidad, so things a little more heightened than the usual American party, I guess. Really go that far. So we had a great time. I that 2 weeks alone, I don't think I've drank as much as I have in the last 2 weeks. I'm not really a big drinker anyway by nature. I tend to, I would consider myself a social drinker. I don't necessarily buy a lot of alcohol and stuff, but I'll drink with friends, and if I go to a gathering, I'll get a couple beers or two here and there. But I don't necessarily consider myself a drinker by a big drinker. But last 2 weekends, as I said last weekend, obviously we had a great time at the house and at the Airbnb, and we did a lot of drinking there and have a good time. And then this week too, especially, did the same at the birthday party. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. It's fun, and it also reminds you how old I've gotten. I'm turning 42 in May, so it's hard. The fact I was able to hang as long as I did is pretty impressive. I didn't get home till 1:30 in the morning the next day with the kids, and the kids hung too. Both my boys hung, did well, and woke up the next day, went to see my other sister up in Stewart. We had a good time there, and that was fun. And and so it's been a very active 2 weeks. I haven't been home much because either for the last 2 weeks alone, either I'm out with family, or I'm at work, or I'm running errands. I'm home to sleep. That's it. So like today, for example, I'll be home my day off, so I'll be home all day, and to the kids probably boxing tonight later on. But other than that, I'm gonna be just kind of like in my kind of laying low a little bit. I know we got a family event coming up in another week and a half. My cousin's daughter is getting baptized, so we're gonna have a gathering there. Go to the church, of course, and then after we're gonna go fellowship with them as well too. So it's a lot going on. We got a lot going on, and of course this coming week, as you guys have listened to this podcast for years, you know that early April is a big week for this family, because of course April 3rd is my anniversary. We work 11 years. My wife and I, Lauren and I, we 11 years married. Then the very next day, my youngest son Logan turns 5. And then I believe that's on a Sunday, right? On Monday, maybe on Monday. And then on the 8th, which is a Friday, where my oldest son Eli turns 9. So time is moving. Time is it's moving. And one of the cool things about this podcast too is that I've been able to, especially as I've changed this concept of the format of this podcast in 30 years, been able to reflect back on where things were a couple years ago, and when the kids are younger, and now they're getting older, and you have these kind of like these moments, these chapters, and you can refer to on the show, which is great. I mean, it's one of the cool things with doing podcasts. Like you have these kind of like memories, bank memories, and talk about what happened in 2018 and 2020, and now this, and so things are getting, it's like your life is moving, and I said in the last pod, one of my biggest priorities is to, I want to be the person now that's, experiencing things instead of like worrying about every little thing, the night and day, stuff with bills and money and work, and I want, obviously those things matter, but I want to have experiences and stuff, and I know, and it's easy to get lost it's easy to get lost and swallowed up in the life of family and priorities. But I do want to venture off and do other things too as well, and experience things that you're not getting younger, and nothing's promised. So you want to still strike a balance. You don't want to go over the top, but you also want to be able to at least, like I said, strike a balance. So, but these past 2 weeks it's been really cool. Like it's really it's really reminded me, how much I love my family, and just I miss sometimes having that opportunity to go out and just live and have a good time, live free and all that, and but still, again, strike a balance, which I've been doing. So, but like I said, last couple weeks has been fun. I've enjoyed it. I do need to wind down a little bit now because we got more stuff coming up next couple weeks too. Like I said, anniversaries, birthdays, baptisms, and and the stuff of that nature, of course. So, anyway, so the biggest topic of right now in the world, social media, what do you want to call it? The Will Smith, Chris Rock, I call it kerfuffle. What do you want to call it? The slap her around the world at the Oscars. I don't watch the Oscars anymore. I to be honest with you, my interest in the Oscars is not necessarily that I don't want to watch the Oscars. I have attempted in recent years to try to do an Oscars podcast every year, but the problem with that is I'm not a big movie guy anymore either. Like I could have done this maybe 10, 15 years ago and be able to do a podcast every year and kind of like preview the Oscars and all that. And you guys remember this too, also, even this is the podcast a couple of years. Like I've attempted doing that, and every time, the problem is a lot of the movies that are nominated for the Oscars, you kind of don't really know about until like much later, and then it's a struggle for me to find the movies also, and not only just find the movies, finding the time to watch them, So by the time you have to record a podcast like a week or two out before the Oscars, I don't know what's going on, and I'm like, okay, well, I can't do it anymore, And I tried I think the last time I really honestly attempted to do that was probably 2 years ago, and I was like, no, I can't do it. It's impossible. So maybe one day I'll, but it also is something too where, because I'm not into movies like I used to be, to be honest with you, a lot of my, it's changed a lot for me. Like I'm more of a TV show guy now. I watch more TV shows now than I do the Oscars. So maybe Golden Globes are probably not my speed now, where I do that instead of the Oscars. I don't know. But anyway, so the Oscars, of course, ratings been down for years, whatever, for many reasons. We have to get into political stuff, but it is what it is. But last night, Sunday night rather, Chris Rock and Will Smith. Chris Rock was the host. He was doing I don't know if he hosted the entire show, but he definitely did a bit, and basically, called out, Will Smith and Jada, his wife, and made a G.I. Jane 2 joke. G.I. Jane was a role played by Demi Moore back in the late 90s, who was a shaved head military person, what do you call it. I never seen the movie, but I heard it's fantastic. Jada Pinkett also has her hair shaved like this, like mine. She supposedly, for what we understand, suffers from alopecia, and I guess Chris Rock made a comment about calling her G.I. Jane 2. Look, we see G.I. Jane 2. Will Smith realized the joke initially, but then you see Jada Pinkett on the other side of the screen, like really annoyed by that, and then a couple seconds later, Will gets up and slaps Chris Rock, what seemed to be, I think it was in the face. I thought it was in the arm originally, but apparently he got hit in the face. And then he proceeds to yell, leave, basically saying, leave my wife's name out your fucking mouth. Twice, yelling. And Chris Rock, to his credit, was shaken by it a little bit, but he kept going. He kept, going through the process, despite it all. Yeah, it's a very shocking thing to see on live television, that seeing Will Smith, two of the biggest stars in the last 30 years in entertainment, go at it like that. Let me just say this real quick. I have some notes I want to refer to real quick, because this is something that really like I said, it's just shocking in general. What happened here. Let me say for the record, despite I've never been a Chris Rock fan. I never liked Chris Rock. I think I don't find him funny. I never found him funny. I think when your shtick is to solely make fun of people and that's your only shtick, to me, you're not really creative and funny. I've never been a fan of Chris Rock personally. I prefer Chris Tucker. I prefer Eddie Murphy. I prefer Jim Carrey. I prefer Richard Pryor. Guys who are naturally funny but also diverse. Dave Chappelle. Guys who are diverse. I never enjoyed Chris Rock movies. I mean, unless he's in a supporting cast. But what Will did was wrong. What Will did is wrong. Now, I will say for the record, just there were the initial reaction to me. There was a lot of bias behind it. I hate Chris Rock. Well, I don't hate Chris Rock. But I don't like Chris Rock. I love Will Smith, and Chris Rock got us comeuppance. So whatever. So I wasn't like feeling sympathy for Chris Rock what happened because some things he said in the past about women and things of that nature. Like I said, he's a comedian. He can say those things, but I wasn't feeling bad for Chris Rock either. But what Will Smith did was wrong. You can't go up there and hit someone. I got an argument with my wife last night about that. She, like me, can't stand Chris Rock, but she also thinks Chris Rock deserves what he got. And I'm like, well, I get it. We don't like the guy, but you can't hit somebody. You just can't do that. Unless he's threatening you, unless he's he or she is threatening you, or she is hitting you or assaulting you. There's no reason to be hitting somebody just like that, especially in an award show of all places. But he was wrong for that. But in some ways too, I can also relate to his emotion. I can relate to the emotion of wanting to defend your wife and your family. If you said things about my wife, my kids, for example, I would raise my ire for sure. I don't know if I go as far as going to an award show, go up and hit somebody, but I'll definitely have some words with him probably after the show. I do think that at the same time, comedians are comedians, and this is what they sign up for. See, the thing is, like I said, Will and Jada in the last couple of years, especially too, has been very public about their life. Obviously, you've heard about Jada and her some of the things she's been going through, and Will's been going through, and some of the things they've confessed on their shows and platforms and stuff. The entanglement thing, what she was involved in with someone like 20 years her junior, was it August Alsina, I think his name was, some R&B singer I'd never heard of until that thing actually came out. And then Will, of course, confessing things. He just came out with a book 4 months ago and being very, very honest about some of the things that he has gone through in his life. And I get all of that. You just can't hit somebody. But the problem is and of course you can't control this. There is also a consequence of putting your life out there for consumption. And people have the right to feel the way they feel. Now, obviously, I'm not saying it's the right thing to do, but at the same time, when you put yourself out there, this is this is what happens. And I think, I think when I spoke on the podcast about 2 years ago, close to 2 years ago, about the whole August Alsina, Jada Pinkett, Will Smith, triangle, wouldn't call it. I said this, on the podcast a few years ago. You can't get too mad about people giving opinions about things because you're bringing this to us. We're not asking for information. You're bringing this to us. You know what I'm saying? So it was a bad look at Will. Now he since apologized on publicly yesterday. I don't think his award should be taken back or none of that. I don't think none of that nature. I think maybe it is what it is. Chris Rock won't press charges, so let's move on with that, of course. But there's also the other faction of this too. Another piece of this now. A lot of people still aren't convinced this is actually real. Like, is this actually a work or a shoot? Not to use wrestling terms here. Wrestlemania t-shirt, of course. Is this a work or a shoot? I mean, I think it's real. I think it's hard to, because I think it's hard to fake something like that and hold us back as long, hold us back. So if this is fake, someone would have already come out with some stuff out there about it being fake. I think it's real personally. I think it's real. But it's just it's just shocking to see that. And again, this is the most ratings the Oscars had in years. And that would be the motivation also, obviously, to for this to be fake is for the Oscars to get a bump in ratings, of course. But I also think I'll say it again, a lot of it too, also with the Oscars ratings being low, is because not just political stuff, but it's also the fact that people don't watch movies the same way anymore either. They just don't. And there's more things to watch. You know, are you watching the Oscars? Or are you watching, college basketball? Are you watching the Oscars? Or are you watching HBO? There's so many other options to watch. In my case, I'm watching NBA basketball, or I'm doing something else with my family. I have other things going on. So naturally, the ratings will crater a little bit. It is what it is. But I think this is real. I think this is a real situation. I'm glad both parties allegedly. Chris Rock supposedly put out a statement out too, but apparently it said that's not actually confirmed. It was him talking about it. But it's still shocking. Everybody's talking about it. All the memes are great. The meme culture is fantastic. This is when the internet's really fun. Is around this time things like this happen. All these little memes. I put up some on my social media pages and stuff, and it's been this crazy. So yeah, Will, you can't be doing that, bro. You can't be hitting people like that. That's all. You just can't do that. That's just not cool. That's not cool. So, but again, I'm not a Chris Rock fan anyway. So it is what it is. I'm not gonna feel bad for him, but I will say he did handle himself pretty well. All considering all that. So, during the weekend also too, we got some sad news. Foo Fighters drummer Taylor Hawkins passed away, age 50. You guys know I always love rock music. Love. There's so many bands I like. I love. I'm a big Foo Fighters fan. Been for a long time. I think Dave Grohl's one of the best ambassadors of heavy music. The genre's ever had. Taylor Hawkins, fantastic drummer. They were in Colombia touring, and apparently had chest pains, and he just went apparently. Now we've gotten some details since the announcement of the passing. Obviously people will always assume it's drugs, and you don't want to go there and just say it's drugs till it's confirmed. But for what, according to reports, Colombian authorities found, they found marijuana, they found antidepressants, opioids, heroin, at least 10 different substances found in his system, according to a journalist out there. A police officer also said that a cocaine-looking powder was seen in his hotel room, while a national newspaper, El Tiempo, reported that authorities found hallucinogenic drugs, but no signs of violence in the hotel room. This is sad. He has a family, obviously, a lot of friends, I'm sure, fans. The outpouring of support and love was tremendous on social media over the weekend. And it's sad to see this. You see guys dying young. And I have never seen these guys in concert yet. I plan on seeing them this year. I think they're touring this year, and they were supposed to come down here at some point. I want to go see him live. Never got to see him live. I want to see him, especially too, Taylor Hawkins. It's just sad. It's sad. The band was dug to the Hall of Fame last year. Yeah, it's just one of the things that you I was shocked, because obviously you get a lot of like big deaths we see every so often, but then some of them hit you harder than others. Like last episode we discussed Scott Hall, aka Razor Ramon. I'm a big wrestling fan, so that hit me. He's one of my top 10 favorite guys in the history of pro wrestling, so that hit me a little bit to the core. This one's close there too, because I'm a big fan of the band, and obviously that I know that band has been around a long time, and they're very close knit, especially too. So it's a sad situation, it really is sad. So rest in peace to Taylor Hawkins, his family, his friends, of course the band. Hope they're doing okay and holding up. Especially when death happens outside the country too, outside your home base. That's got to be something weird to handle, especially too when you're not in the comfort of where you should be or where home is. So. Again, rest in peace to Taylor Hawkins, fantastic, talented drummer, So, anyway, the easy way to get out of this topic, but we'll switch over to WrestleMania, because WrestleMania is WrestleMania week. As you see the T-shirt on, WrestleMania 6 T-shirt. Although it's funny, they got Macho Man, and Ultimate Warrior on the shirt. When they actually wrestled in WrestleMania 7, the main event of WrestleMania 6 was actually Hogan and Warrior. But I think Hogan's not on the shirt because of the stuff that happened in recent years, and they want to mark it on there, whatever. But WrestleMania week is this week. I'll be home watching it. My kid, both my kids really, but my oldest kid was definitely into it. A 2-night event, and I'll be honest with you, I am not heavily excited about it, but at the same time, that's probably a good thing, because This year alone, I've sort of tempered down my wrestling watch a little bit, week to week, whatever you call it. I haven't watched I haven't watched Raw, SmackDown all year long. AEW Dynamite I haven't watched, but once or twice this year alone. I've watched pay-per-views, so you can still know what's going on by watching the pay-per-views, of course. WWE, to their credit, does it, as I said before in the past, they do a great job of putting the content out there. So if you don't want to watch the entire show, you can watch, clips on YouTube, clips on Instagram, stuff of that nature. But I think the fact that there's nothing that I'm not excited about it may actually bode well for the show, because it's a good card both nights. But a lot of the matches on the card also too are stuff we've seen before. It doesn't feel fresh, but there could also be some surprises coming into as well. I expect some surprises. Most notably Cody Rhodes, who allegedly signed with WWE a couple weeks ago, who just left AEW back in February. But it could be a good thing. My co-hosts on Take 3 Wrestling, Mike and Joe, of course, will be out there. They're flying out there on Friday. This is now I believe their 11th straight WrestleMania, maybe 12th straight WrestleMania. They've gone every WrestleMania since 2010, I believe, other than the pandemic one, which of course had one fan on top. But I'm excited. I'm not heavily excited, but I feel like because of that, it might be a good show. So I just found out I'm not working on Mania either, so I'll be home, probably get some wings and stuff with the family and enjoy it. This is the Super Bowl of wrestling, really. I mean, I've watched WrestleMania. So I've been watching wrestling since 1987. And of course I stopped. You guys know I stopped in 2003 for about 17 years. So WrestleMania favorites to me. Obviously, you look at Savage and Steamboat and Hogan and Andre. WrestleMania 3. The tournament. A lot of people don't like the tournament. WrestleMania 4. I love the tournament personally, but I mean it's a long show, but I get it. WrestleMania 5, of course, my all-time favorite WrestleMania. It's fun. WrestleMania. Looking back and watching old matches and stuff. I announced last week on the podcast we're going to be doing a new concept on this feed called the Wrestling Retrospective. The Wrestling Retrospective. We're going to do a couple episodes going to be dropping next week or so. Is going to be watch-alongs of big matches, for example. Hogan and Rock from Mania 18 20 years ago is one of them, and the other one will probably end up dropping also this week is going to be Mania 13 between Austin and Bret Hart. But yeah, not super excited about WrestleMania this year, but that could be a good thing. So anyway, so we have that coming up. We'll obviously do predictions on the podcast. We'll do it on the Take the Wrestling podcast, which will drop on Friday. So just look up for the feed if you're obviously interested in wrestling, of course. Just listen to it, of course. But yeah, I think there'll be a lot of surprises there. I think there'll be a lot of surprises on this show. I'm looking forward to it. So, all right, staying wrestling to Triple H, Paul Levesque, the cerebral assassin, announced retirement last week on Friday. Now, this didn't hit me that hard because I already kind of assumed he was retired. He had wrestled in 3 years anyway. He was already part-time. He was doing more work at NXT anyway, executive work anyway. But we had heard last year that he had actually had a health scare. And basically he had cardiac surgery in September. He basically said he's done wrestling now, in ring competition. Basically saying, quote, he has a defibrillator in his chest, so it's probably not a good idea for him to get zapped on TV. He had viral pneumonia. His lungs were inflamed, and as the next couple of days went on, when he got home, he got quickly worse. His wife, Stephanie McMahon, of course, Vince's wife, Vince's daughter, saw some blood and stuff, and he was coughing up, and he got checked. It was coming from viral pneumonia, but he had fluid in his lungs. He had some fluid in his heart, too. So, I mean, like I said, it didn't hit me hard in a sense because I always assumed that he was probably close to be done anyway. He probably just left the door open in case he wanted to do, like, surprise matches here and there, but now he's done. And I get it. He made the right choice. He made the right choice here, obviously. He was never one of my all-time favorites. Mainly because of the fact that he was always a heel, and he played the bad guy role so well that you wanted to hate him. But when you look at it from a character perspective, though, and what he accomplished, he's one of the best heels in the history of the business. He really is. And he really pushed boundaries, especially in the Attitude Era where, like, The Rock was dominating. HBK was still, prior to the injury, was still the top guy also as well too. The Rock, Austin, Foley. Triple H wedged his way in there and made himself important as well too. And this is after, in '96 where the curtain call happened and, of course, Hall and Nash go to WCW and, HBK, you're not going to punish him because, he's the champion. So who gets the low head and totem pole? It's Triple H, so they cost him King of the Ring in '96, that kind of thing. But he was, you look at the last 25 years of wrestling, he is one of the most important figures of the last quarter century of the company, of WWE. Between booking, between being executive, between his in-ring work and some of the biggest matches in the business, he's one of the most important figures. Like, he's easily a top 10, 15 guy. Like, if you ask me in a nutshell where you place Triple H all time, he's definitely top 20, probably close to 15. You make an argument with 10. You know what I'm saying? Best rivalries he's had, of course, the Foley in '97 and 97 and '99 and 2000, but also The Rock as well too. He helped get The Rock over, especially too. He's fantastic. Like, he's someone as I got older really learned to appreciate, his work, because as you watch wrestling with different eyes get older, it's character work, and he's, it's about greatest heels in the history of business. He's easily one of the biggest heels in the history of business. I would put him top 5 because he knew how to stretch. Just, you hate him as much as you did now, you hate him even more. Excuse me. Pushing boundaries. He did that, and I respect that. As I got older, I learned to really respect his work. But yeah, some of the messages came in after he announced his retirement. Very positive and nice, and people showing their love, and I respect that. So best wishes to Triple H. Hope you put in your health first. You can still do his work behind the scenes. Executive work, of course, with NXT. Although I don't know if he's still involved in that right now. Right now as it is, we'll see. But yeah, best wishes to Triple H and his family. Honestly. All right. Last time we haven't talked since the Tyreek Hill trade happened between the Chiefs and the Dolphins. In fact, that trade happened right hours after we signed off from recording the Football's Awesome podcast last week Tuesday. But Tyreek Hill got traded to the Miami Dolphins. It was the day after. I apologize. So it was the day after on Wednesday. We got Tyreek Hill, Chiefs receiver, probably the fastest guy in the league, got traded to the Dolphins for picks, lots of picks and stuff. A lot of people saying, the Chiefs made a bad move by trading him away because they couldn't agree to a new contract and all that. But this is why the trade for me makes sense for both teams. In the case of the Dolphins, you got a quarterback in Tua Tagovailoa, who is still improving, is still trying to figure out how good this guy is. This will be year 3 when we get to September for him. So the best way to evaluate your quarterback that you're unsure about is you bring in as much good talent as possible. Tyreek Hill gets paid, of course. Tua's still on a rookie deal, and you figure it out from there. It makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. For the Chiefs, it's easy. As good as Tyreek Hill is, and he's fantastic, probably a top 3 receiver in the league still, I don't know if he's going to be better than he is now, number 1. Okay? Number 2, you got Pat Mahomes. And who are you paying? This is a salary cap league. Who are you paying? Are you paying top dollar to the quarterback, or are you paying top dollar to the receiver? Obviously, you pay top dollar to the quarterback, especially if the quarterback is top 5. In this case, he's top 1. He's, in my opinion, still the best quarterback in football. So you put your trust in, okay, we lose Tyreek Hill, great talent, obviously, one of the best receivers in the league, but because we had Pat Mahomes and his talent, it makes sense, and we're going to trust him to make it work. It's this simple. A team with a top 5 quarterback, you don't necessarily need a top receiver either. You can probably still win games with a top 20 receiver or find guys and make it work. Okay? Because you don't want to pay the receiver, pay the quarterback, and then the middles is all thin. The O-line is not paid and not taken care of, or the defense, you know what I mean? That puts more pressure on the quarterback. I've always said you can't pay receiver unless your team you have a quarterback that's mediocre at best. You can't pay a top. You can't pay a top receiver that kind of money. Sorry, it doesn't work that way. So if you're a team like the Chiefs with a top 5 quarterback, in this case top 1 quarterback in the league, top 2, top 1, whatever we call it, you pick you trust the quarterback to make it work with other players. Now in this case, the Dolphins, Tua is not a top 5, not even top 10, probably not even top 15, 16 in the league. You have to build him with players to work around him. Again, Tyreek Hill may not be better than he is now, but he want to get paid, and I don't blame him. You know what I'm saying? So, we'll see how it works out. Miami's roster, for the record, on paper, looks really good. But again, the AFC is really good in general. So this is all on Tua. This is making or breaking for him now. And to the credit of the Dolphins, they have Teddy Bridgewater behind them as well too. So if Tua flops, you got Teddy to fill in there. But the Dolphins done what they could to build around Tua. Okay, with some good receivers. You got Waddle, you got Tyreek Hill, obviously Gesicki. Now there's some weird Brady rumors coming out too. Tom Brady rumors about him wanting to go to Miami, but we don't know. That's still all rumors. Tom Brady has not requested a trade yet from Tampa, so we'll see how that runs out. But in the meantime, as Tua is the quarterback, he has weapons now. There's no excuses anymore. No excuses. He has weapons. So, all right, before I go, NBA playoffs almost here, a couple weeks away. So I am going to read off, when this time of year, you start to figure out, okay, which teams are real title contenders, which teams are, pretenders, contenders, that kind of thing, title contenders in NBA. I feel like right now, looking at the league right now, going through, teams right now that are playing, I think they're really only as competitive as this league has been this year, and it's been a fantastic year, with great parity. There are really only, in my opinion, 6, maybe 7 teams I really see playing in the NBA Finals this year. And I might be actually, being kind there, because even though there's some really good stories this year in the NBA, I think that when rubber meets the road, I think these teams are still the teams that are to beat, when it comes to playing for a rights to go to the NBA Finals in their conference. So I have 7 teams, maybe 8 actually. It's one team I'm still back and forth on, but I should show more respect though. Obviously the Bucks are defending champions. I see them playing in the finals. In fact, they are still my pick to win the East when it's all said and done. At least right now. Despite being the 8th seed in the East, I still think the Nets could play in the finals here. Now they have Kyrie Irving able to play all the home games now. I think the Nets are dangerous. Although I will say that some of the games I've seen with, like on Sunday against Charlotte, not good. Very inconsistent. But we'll see how the playing works out. Also in the East, and this is one of the hottest teams in the league, but has lost the first game in 9 last night, the Celtics. I was saying no until like a couple days ago. I was like, there'd be some really good teams here. Now injuries may be an issue. I know Rob Williams got hurt a couple days ago. We'll see how it plays out. But I see the Celtics playing in the finals. The Heat, of course, despite the struggles recently, I see them playing in the finals if things work out. In the West, the Suns. I see the Suns playing in the finals. Definitely see the Suns playing in the finals. The best team in basketball now. The Warriors, if they're healthy, if Steph Curry is back and Draymond can stay healthy, I can obviously see the Warriors in the finals. That's 6 teams. Back to the East also too. I see, as much as I push back on Harden a lot, James Harden, Philly playing in the finals well too. Philadelphia, Harden and Embiid. It's been, for the most part, a positive thing for the team right now. But obviously Harden's got to prove it in the playoffs. This team here, I'm bullish on. And they are playing fantastic basketball. And they have the second best record in basketball currently. And that is the Memphis Grizzlies. And they're playing well without John Morant. I think they're 17-3 this year without John Morant. But when playoff basketball starts, it's a little different, but they're beating some good teams. You have to give them respect. So I'm going to reluctantly put the Grizzlies in there too, as well as my last team that I can see playing in the finals this year. Now, obviously, you have to go through, Phoenix and Golden State and all that. No. Obviously, people saying, well, what about the Mavs? What about the Jazz? No. I think as good as those teams are, and they've been playing well this second half of the year, I think when it gets time to shine, I just don't see that happening. I see the top teams in the West beating them. So, but that's my current title bubble right now. We'll probably do another one of these probably a couple weeks and discuss it. But I think that's it for now. I'm a little tired. My woke up one little, my throat's a little scratchy again this week. Maybe it's just allergies, whatever, maybe. So anyway, probably one of these probably a couple days. I'm on Twitter at EasyChris7, Earnestly Podcast, Earnestly Media on YouTube. On, of course, on all podcast catchers. We'll talk soon. Enjoy rest of your day and all that, and we'll talk soon. Love you guys. Take care and see ya.